This is Magnum's 3-week e-collar camp. The purpose of the 3-week e-collar camp is to introduce and perfect a dog's e-collar skills, as well as, with Magnum, we were working on leash pulling and obedience. Here's an example of how I want him to continue to wait prior to entering or exiting a vehicle or any other door. I do not want him to bolt out of any door. I want him to wait until he is released with the go-ahead command, like you see here. Before you begin every walk, make sure you check his gear, make sure the prong collar is high and tight on the neck, and the e-collar is making full contact with the skin. This is how I'm using the look command to get him through a very high distraction environment. Since he is a rather tall dog, I found that using a 1-foot traffic lead was very easy and useful. This kind of sets where you're going to want him to stay by your side and takes the guesswork out for you. The other leash that I'm using is a hands-free leash. The reason I use both the prong collar as well as the e-collar is because sometimes our reaction time can be a little bit slow. But with the prong collar, if he lunges at a squirrel or to go say hey to someone without you telling him, it goes ahead and corrects automatically, and then you can get his attention in other ways. I did work on his commands, both out in public and at our facility. This is because I want him to be able to do what you're seeing here, which is when people are walking by, I want him to still focus and follow through with any command I give him. Because he is very friendly and he does love to go say hey to everybody. I've only been using treats for commands like this and then the look command. I'm not issuing treats during the entire walk anymore. I went ahead and weaned him off of that because he did very well and was very willing to walk nicely on the leash. Here you can see him walking by a lot of construction. This frightens many dogs, especially with the bright colors and the scary machinery and the people that pop out of nowhere. He did fantastic. He showed no fear at all. He was happy to keep looking up at me just on his own accord, and that's something that I want to praise with either a good boy or some pets, if he just glances up to check what I'm doing without being asked to look at me. And you always want to have a loose leash when working with any collar, especially a training collar. That's because we want him to stay very sensitive to the collar pressure and be even more sensitive by the time we take the training collar off. I don't use prong collars for the rest of a dog's life. I just use them until the pulling habit is for sure completely eliminated. That way we don't see any decline in his training in the process. When we stop, I have him sit, and this is because I like his focus to return to me. I like to see that he's still paying attention to my speed and what I'm doing. Here you see me practicing walking a little bit slower with him, because I do like when my dogs adjust speed to whatever I'm doing. Generally, every time I passed a person, I would issue the leave it command, which is what you're seeing here. That's telling him that I don't want him to greet that particular person. I would rather him just continue walking with me and look at me instead. He's doing wonderfully with the leave it command, even with some of the toys that he was very adamant about playing with out in the field. He would leave it when told, as well as leaving food when told. Another word about food. When you feed him, have him sit and wait for his food. This is going to keep manners going how they should. and it's also going to give you at least a twice a day opportunity to work on the leave it command. You put him in a sit, tell him to leave it, you put the bowl on the ground. If he rises from the sit, you lift the bowl back up until he sits back down. Then you repeat until he is happy and compliant to sit there until you release him with go ahead. And once you do that, then he's free to eat his food. And you see right there, that was a reaction to a startling noise behind him. He continued to wag, just looked behind him, and kept going. And with the people, he was happy to see them. I said leave it. He was very happy to leave it. Go ahead and keep treats on hand for using the leave it command, because I want that to be a very, very valuable thing for him. Go ahead and intermittently use treats for the next couple of months, and then you can wean him off of those completely. Occasionally you can hear me use a verbal correction of when he is getting a little too far ahead. It's because I want to give him a chance to correct what he's doing without issuing any physical correction. He's very responsive to these type of corrections. Here you see him being walked by Ryan. I like to have both of us walk each dog as well as a couple of other people, and this ensures that he will respond well with you and anyone else who has the leash. I want dogs to listen to whoever is holding the other end of the leash. Very calm in a wide variety of situations. This is something that I look for and am very happy to see in my own dogs as well. Here you see him happily walking by these tables and chairs and not jumping on top of them. A lot of dogs will try to jump on them or will stop and not want to get closer to me or walk in a tight space. He passed by perfectly. There is a screaming, running child in the park beside him. He is still very happy to use that look command. And this is one of those instances where the look command comes in very handy, because you can't stop things like this from happening. But you can make him comfortable, and you can make him know what to do in this situation. Here's just a little sample of some of the training segments that we've been doing with his e-collar. He is off-leash and with no fence around him. He's just out in a large field. And here's his recall. I'm recalling him with a hand signal and the come command. When he comes to me, I'm giving him the sit command, because that's going to prevent him from rushing too far forward or feeling the need to jump up on me. With stay, I am only intermittently using stay paired with the come command, and that is because he will begin to be very, very eager to get up and come to me, which means he will want to break his stay. This is something that will typically fade with a few months of consistency with the stay command. It's not an issue that all dogs have, but it is a fairly common issue when dogs are so enthusiastic to do command work with you like he is. Also, make sure you are breaking up the commands, so you can do down, stay, sit, and then next time you can do sit, down. But make sure you don't do the same series of commands over and over again, because then you're going to see him, especially as smart as he is, just blowing through that set of commands every single time. He even got far enough along in his training that I could lay him down in a downstay and hop over him, which is very hard for dogs to do. They get very excited when I do this, but he did perfectly. Another thing that will force the dog to break a stay is someone running away from them. Again, he did wonderfully. To tell him that it's okay for him to leave that stay, I am waiting till I get back to him. I give him a reward of either a pet or a small piece of kibble, and then I tell him to go ahead. I have been using only kibble as rewards because he's happy to work for that low value treat, and that's something that you can continue to do at home without paying extra for treats and without increasing his weight. Simply take it out of his daily food rations.